What's up, ladies and gentlemen? You're now watching Kinetic Outcome, and we are with Alan, whom is a digital marketing specialist, and of course with a background of business development. So quick introduction of yourself, Alan.
Hi everyone, my name is Alan. So I've been in the field of digital marketing for around 6 years' time. So this is a very interesting field to me because I've started in Google, and now I've actually moved on to my own business with another friend of mine, and we're in the China industry. So we actually help businesses in Hong Kong and global to get into China instead of focusing on getting them marketed in Hong Kong. So what we mainly do is use the assets in China, such as BAT, so Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, and help the clients to get into China through these different mediums.
Cool. Well, let's go back to an in-depth look on where you started and how you got to where you are now.
Okay. So that is quite interesting because for me, I've studied account and finance in Hong Kong University, which is very different from what I'm doing at the moment. So why I've decided to change my job is that because I think account and finance is quite boring field to me. It's not a very creative industry. So it's mostly with data analysis and also a lot of data entry. For me, it is a bit boring, so I seek for something more dynamic and interesting. When I first started my career, I was in print marketing. So I went into a company called 𝙆𝙪𝙩𝙘𝙤, and it's a very, very, very good company. So it's a company from Liechtenstein. If you know, there's always a team in World Cup that never gets into World Cup, but they are in the competition stage, which is a team called Liechtenstein. So it's a very small country. And in the years of 𝙆𝙪𝙩𝙘𝙤, I've get to learn a lot more about marketing. So how to use your materials to sell a product or help any teams like the engineering team, the marketing team, or even the sales to get their products out to their clients and customers. So that to me is a very interesting field. After working there for 3 years, a friend recommended me to get into Google. I loved 𝙆𝙪𝙩𝙀 a lot, but to me it's like an opportunity that I cannot say no to. So I went from print marketing into this digital marketing field. What I've learned from Google is that there is actually a lot of ways for us to reach out to target audiences. So in the old days, when we use print marketing, sometimes it is like a shotgun where you shoot the message to a mass audience, which is not very accurate. But after getting into Google, I learned that it is very easy to pinpoint the people that you're trying to look for. So I've worked in Google for around 2 years' time. For me, I've picked up most of the knowledge I can gain in the company for my role. And after talking to my manager, she mentioned that at that moment, the company is not looking to expand to create one more position above me. So maybe for the 3rd year, I'm going to do the same things. So that's the time where I decided, since I'm still young, I wanted to go out to try something new. So I went out to join my friend where he has a company, and I've invested a bit into his company and become a small shareholder. And inside, I've started to learn more about marketing in China, and then different platforms like Facebook, or even some platforms like Baby Kingdom or ESD Live. So I've learned that other than the world inside of Google, there is still a lot more knowledge for me to acquire outside of Google. At the moment, I'm still working in my friend's company, and we're trying to target local or global companies and help them to market their products into China, help them to grow their business.
So that means you are a specialist in WeChat.
Yes.
There's Taobao and what else? Weibo?
A lot, like Weibo. In China, there's actually a lot of different platforms. So like 𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤, and then it is very diverse. As I've mentioned, the digital marketing world is very big, and there's still a lot of things for us to explore. So at the moment, we have decided to start to build our own platform as well. So other than the ones that you've mentioned, because when we use other people's platform, we need to give them a cut of the, for example, the budget from client. So we decided, why not build our own platform? But this is something that is very new to us as well. So we're constantly learning and then finding new ways to reach out for our clients in a more even a better way. But for that, we are still like developing. So if I've like new news on the platform, I'll let you know in the future as well.
That's pretty cool. You might be the next Facebook.
Maybe. We're aiming for that, but it will require a lot of effort. But for us, we are confident that we at least are starting, and then to learn along the way, see what we can learn, and then see what we can do to make the platform better.
I guess moving on to the next question, your challenges in the process and what was rewarding afterwards, or even consistent challenges and rewards.
So you mean in this company or the companies before?
Probably from the start to here.
From the start, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I think the initial stage is to just have the confidence to like change all the time, or to like get out of your comfort zone. Because for me, as I've mentioned, I've studied account and finance. Like a lot of my classmates, they actually go into those big 4 accounting firms. So it was very hard for me to decide to like give up on like 4 years of knowledge and to go into a new industry. And then also after gaining 3 years of print marketing knowledge, where I'm quite confident in like dealing with all the requests from my managers. For example, if they want me to make a leaflet, I can do it maybe in 1 week's time, and I can make a very nice leaflet where they would approve my work easily. But since the opportunity of Google came up, I had to say yes, and then to start again. So when I first moved into Google, I was in the brand team. So I was working with all the top brands in Hong Kong. The department I was in was called a large customer sales. So where we take care of companies like P&G, L'Oreal, etc. For me, it is something totally new. So I remember when I first joined the team, they were talking with me about like these clients, and I didn't really know much about like P&G. I didn't know under them they had like 10 or 20 very huge brands as well. For example, SK2, you would talk about Colgate or Gillette. These are all under P&G. So for me, it is something totally new as well. And then I had to read a lot of books to learn more about the companies in order to talk to the clients easily. After 2 years of Google, it was also another difficult decision for me to move on to a local company, because the package in Google was very attractive. You have all those extracurricular classes. Maybe you get to go to the gym for like a very low price, etc.
And you get food every day. I heard they cook for you.
Yeah, so breakfast, lunch, dinner, they're all covered in Google as well.
Causeway Bay office, right?
Yeah, in Causeway Bay, in
That's where
Times
I've been.
Square. Yeah.
Checked it out.
So for me, it was really a tough decision. But sometimes you just have to go with your gut instinct, and you have to know like where you are at in your career path. So sometimes you feel that maybe for the next year, if you cannot learn something new, or you don't see yourself going to an even higher position, it is time for you to maybe just go out to see what else is there. So even if you've learned some new knowledge in otherwhere, you can always easily go back to your old places, given that you did a good job before. But for me, it is always about like being young and to explore more about what you can learn and to gain more knowledge in your field.
Because the younger you are, you can absorb more, right?
Yeah, and my advice to some of you is that if you're young, it is okay to explore, but maybe after you reach a certain age, it is time for you to stay in the same field. So you can go to different companies maybe, but stick to the same field to build on what you're good at. Because, for example, if you reach the age of 30, you should be very clear that what are your strengths and weaknesses are, and then you can just work on your strengths and keep getting better at what you're doing.
Cool. You actually answered the next question before I asked it. Great job, though.
Okay.
Well, if we're going to skip that question, then it's going to be, what makes you unique compared to your competitors?
Yeah, so for me, I think what I'm very unique at is that I really like to talk to a lot of people to understand like what they really need or what they're looking for. So for example, when I was in 𝙆𝙤𝙤𝙤, the company actually started a new department for me. So it was called technical marketing, I've made a lot of friends in the engineering department, and when I was talking to them, I found out that a lot of the marketing materials in the company at that moment were more geared towards the sales team. So for example, there is a lot of pictures of a certain product or the pricing, but for the engineering team, they couldn't really use this kind of materials because, for example, the architecture team, they will go and meet some architects, right? So the architect is not really concerned about the price or how the product looks, but they would want to know how they can draw the product into their graph or their sketch, which part of the code from the government mentions that they have to use a certain product. So these are the knowledge that the architectures are actually looking for. So I was able to build this team to help to modify the marketing materials from the marketing team and to make them into stuff that engineering team use. So this is one strength, is that even if you're working in a certain department, it doesn't mean that other departments, they cannot bring you new knowledge or you cannot figure out something that their department is lacking. And once you can do that, you can talk to your supervisors and they might find like a new role for you to solve these kind of problems. So communication, I believe, is very important. So no matter which company you go to, no matter what industry, it's good to have good communication skills, to talk to people often, like just ask them for lunch or dinner to understand more about their roles and what do they think is missing in their roles, to try to help solve their issues. And if you can't solve it, maybe your supervisor can. So that is very important. Also, I believe that you also have to have very strong observation skills. So this is something I also developed through my photographies. And I love taking photos everywhere. I always need to observe things that people cannot observe. Like for example, if there's a cement, suddenly maybe some dogs walk past it and there's like a dog footprint. And then when I use my camera to focus on the footprint, it can look like it can become a very unique photo. So that is how I develop my observation skills. Sometimes during meetings, I will observe like how people are reacting to the messages. Are they bored by it, or are they very interested in the topic that is being mentioned? Through this kind of observation to understand more about my colleagues. So I would say these are very important skills: communication skills and observation skills.
That's true. Not everyone is observant.
But that's
it's a
very
great skill
important
to have.
Yes.
Okay. Next question is, who do you look up to most? It could be personal, mentor, family, or anyone that are icons.
Who I look up to is that I used to have very good managers throughout my work days. For every company, I would try to look for like a mentor. Like for example, in 𝙆𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤, I've a very good manager called Sam. In Google, my manager was Janet and Eva, and in my company now is Samu. So you always have to look for these very, how do I say, influential and people in the company that really has a very strong vision. When I talk to these people, I can really feel that they have a very unique trait that I really admire, is that when you talk to them, how do you know that these people are very ambitious and very influential, is that normally they will read a lot of books and have a lot of things to share with you. Like just through, for example, lunch, they will be able to maybe talk about some parables, which means stories that have some kind of meaning behind them, and then to inspire you and to make you feel that, oh, very motivated to work on the day. I really admire these people who have vision and they focus on their self-development a lot. And for me, I really want to learn from them. So I'll observe what do they do well every day. And sometimes they will have some good habits that I will adopt into my own as well. For example, let's talk about Eva. She has like a notebook she keeps with her all the time. So she writes down all of her inspirational thoughts or some of the things she picked up that are good, and then she will put it into her notebook. Whenever she wants to share with us during meetings, sometimes she will just open her notebook and maybe, okay, so this book I've read recently, and then the moral behind it, and then a summary of the story, etc., and share with us. This habit, I've kept it with me as well, and I have my own notebook, and then I will bring it with me wherever I go, and then write down interesting things as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is very interesting to me.
I guess it just brings me back to a few days ago, met with a friend of mine who also worked her way up. She's now with HSBC, she's a recruiter. They just give you this energy that makes you want to do good too, because they're doing good.
Yes.
And yeah, it's important to get mentors that would support your growth. And it's a whole new level of just you learning from somebody, and we all absorb, right?
Yes.
And I really feel that's very important.
Yeah, and a good tip to share is that after having these mentors, you have to be the one who takes the initiative to ask them out or just to learn from them. So what I did with some of my mentors before is that I will try to schedule a daily or weekly, actually a weekly meeting with them. So maybe I will book their time slot. For example, every Monday from 4 to 5, I try to go out to maybe a nice cafe, or if, for example, in Google, the places are already very nice. So just sit in those places where people have lunch and then just talk through how's your week, what have you been doing, just to try to see if it's in her shoes, would she do something different, or what would she do in this situation, etc. So if you have a very good relationship with your mentor, normally they will agree with you, and you have to be the one to take the initiative. So normally the mentor won't be so nice and tell you that, oh, let's just meet every week. So they won't do something for you like that. But if you ask them, mostly they will say yes. And there's no harm asking, right? Even if they say, for example, weekly they're busy, so you can ask them, how about bi-weekly? So once they say no to you once, it's harder for them to say no to you twice. So that's how you try to bargain and grow yourself.
Okay. And next question is, in that process where you first started, way back to now, the emotional barriers personally, or not everybody has it, but let's just say naysayers, or if family ever got in the way, if you're open to share, would be great to hear about that too.
Yeah, maybe I can share about the days that we used to work together. Many of you might not know how I met Hector is that we used to work for a sales and marketing company. So they are a company that helps NGOs to do fundraising on streets and events, etc. When I first started that, I wanted to use the first 3 years of my career to do something that is meaningful, because lots of people, if they have a university degree, they will not be willing to go onto the streets and ask people for donation. So maybe to give more insight is that our job is that we have to stand on the street, for example, from 12 to 7 o'clock, and then ask people for some monthly donations. That was the time where I faced the most, the most rejections from my parents, from my peers, because they believe like, why you have to do this kind of job? You have a university degree, and why are you standing on the streets to ask for donations? But for me, I really treasure those 3 years, because other than asking for donations, actually I was able to get into a managerial position where I built a team of 12 people under me. At that time, I get to learn a lot of personal development and how to do training for my peers. So I have to think of like a whole month of knowledge to pass on to my peers and to motivate them to go with me to ask for this kind of donation. I believe that it is a very quick track and MBA, I would call that. Just by 3 years' time, I gained a lot of managerial experience, because you know, in a lot of these local companies nowadays, you have to work maybe 7 to 8 years in order for you to start to manage people under you. But during those 3 years' time, I was just a fresh graduate, but I already get a very good experience of managing a whole team, how to motivate them, how to plan ahead for them, how to have these morning meetings with them to talk about like what our goals for this week or this month. So this was very good experience. After I explained to my parents, they are more like open to what I do. So they even think that the job is very meaningful. I've told them I have a very clear plan. Everything in your life is about planning. If you are able to just share with your parents or friends like why you decide to make some decisions, even they say no, it will be much easier for them to accept. For me, I stated to them, I've set a deadline for 3 years' time to commit myself to help these children all over the world. And then also through this process, I told them I wanted to learn management skills. And the second is to get the entrance into the MBA degree. Because for studying an MBA, you have to have 3 years of minimal management experience as well. So I know that through working in APPCO for 3 years, I would be able to study for my MBA. I've not written it out, but I've very clearly stated like the reason for why I decided to do that job, and then the outcome. And then after I shared that with my parents, they started to accept what I do. In life, if you have people doubting you, as long as you are able to tell them like why you are doing that, then they will show more respect on your decisions, I believe.
And probably most important, show results.
Yes.
Yeah. To bring you guys back, besides standing in the street, we had to approach anybody we saw. And it's going to challenge you in a way where you have to get something out of nothing. You have to make it happen compared to, oh, I'm waiting for opportunities. And I think the best feeling I experienced, which you probably did as well, is I drop my bag, I'm in the field, the first person I stop, right? We were trained to do our pitch and we convert them in 3 minutes, build the trust, they sign up, we got a customer. And we can relax. I mean, one sale a day was good already, because it's tough. You got to approach like probably 100 to 200 to 500, depending on how many you want. And the more you strike, the more you fail, the closer you are to a
Success.
and yes. So yeah, that was a great experience.
Very
frankly speaking.
unique experience.
Yeah, so if you want to gain the experience as well, just hit us up. We'll recommend you. And other than that, last question is, you mentioned about your plans for the current company and building a platform, right? So that's one thing to expect. But anything else to expect for 2020 or 21 that you may be excited to share?
Yeah. For me, actually, I've my own digital platform. I'm not digital platform, but I'm actually a photographer, as I've mentioned.
Yeah.
And I've like an Instagram account. For me, it is a very interesting journey I've experienced for around, I think, 4 years. Grown my account from, I think, around 50 followers to now I've close to 15,000 followers at the moment. So I've started to get a lot more interesting job opportunities. So last year I've started to get jobs from hotels and also product shops like 𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤 watches. I've gained a lot of opportunities through my platform. But one thing I'm trying to build in this year is that I'm trying to be a foodie. Like get to different restaurants and then get to take photos for their food, etc., which is something I'm not very good at the moment, but I'm still learning. I've started to have worked with my girlfriend and we've shoot for around 4 restaurants at the moment. So we're trying to keep that growing, because that's not only my own goal, is that my girlfriend, that's her goal as well, is to become a foodie. So for example, I've known some of the famous foodies. Every week they will get like invited to very good restaurants to have like food and stuff like that. That is quite challenging for me, and I'm trying to aim for mastering how to take good photos of food as well. So I'll do that through reading books and maybe just to observe what others are doing and to get better at this as well. So for me, one of my main goals is to try to get myself to around 20K followers this year and to continue to build this platform and see what can it bring for us, like new clients, and everything is cool with photography, I think. You get to meet a lot of new people from different fields. It's like a surprise all the time. Like you sometimes get inbox to get invited to events and stuff like that. That is something I really enjoy. After this, I'm trying to merge this talent with my current company as well. So helping their clients to maybe start, other than You know, in digital marketing, sometimes the clients will always give you photos to use, but maybe in the future, once I can nail this down, and then I can use my talent to help them to do their photography as well. On top of this, it can also bring in income for the company. Because if clients buy your images, then they will use it. I wish to merge my talent with my company and see like what I can bring to the table for them.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a very interesting ending. Apologies with the cries, but Alan and I out. Kinetic outcome. See ya.